Start over from the beginning.
With our meeting, and after the meeting, we're going to have the forum start. So first we're going to have roll calling to see if who all is here for the board.
Lillian Griffin.
Here.
Murray Honeyblue.
Here.
Bernadette White, present. David Hawkins.
He's absent.
Excused. Zoe McNair. Rose Blunt. Queen Brown. Here. Zenobia Wilson. Patricia Grant. Ms. Diggs.
Present.
Lydell Smith.
Present.
Alphonse Root. Joseph Witherspoon.
Present.
Okay, some of the board members are not here this evening, but we have a forum. We have to form the meeting. And the first thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes from September 20th board meeting. It's going to be read by Mr. Pearson. We don't have a secretary, so people just don't volunteer to come pitch in and take notes for us. So Mr. Hawkins took notes for the last meeting, but he couldn't make it tonight. Not right now. He might come late. He might join us later. So Mr. Pierce is going to read the minutes for us.
These are the minutes as revised. September 20th, 2012 minutes for FLCA. Location of meeting, Wesley House Apartments, 3400 Joshua Barney Drive, Northeast. Call to order at 6:43 p.m. Roll call. And you're going to see some amendments in this. All Fort Lincoln Housing Cluster representatives were present except one, Rose Blount of the Fort Lincoln Apartments due to illness and no alternate appeared. Two, Zenobia Wilson, the nominee for Dakota Crossing, who is waiting to get approval from her business partners. And three, Alphonse Ruth of the Villages at Dakota Crossing. The minutes of the June 29, 2012 board meeting were read and approved. And the business on the agenda was, first of all, nominations for board members. There has been some difficulty in getting a representative from Dakota Crossing. Anthony Nolan, the president of the Homeowners Association, has created a search committee. Joseph Witherspoon was nominated by Roy Pearson, the chair of the nominations committee, to represent the Petersburg Apartments. Bernadette White seconded the motion. Joseph Witherspoon was seconded and approved by the board. Next, Secretary and Communications Chair. Bishop John Grant resigned from her role as the Secretary of the FLCA and as the Communications Chair. David Hawkins motioned at each meeting a member volunteer as the Secretary until replacement is voted. Patricia Johns Grant seconded. The motion was approved. Next topic, video recording of meetings. Roy Pearson reported on why video recording board meetings would be a benefit to the community. Discussion began, and Bernadette White asked why the documents were not sufficient. Zelia Diggs did not want to be seen on videotape. David Hawkins motioned that the Civic Association meetings be recorded. His motion was amended to state that Zelia Diggs would not be recorded. Lillian Griffin seconded the motion. The motion was approved. Next item on the agenda, budget. Bernadette White, the treasurer, reported that there was not a budget available to vote on because she did not receive a budget from each committee chair. Bernadette White motioned that the approval of the budget be tabled until the next board meeting. Queen Brown seconded, and the motion was approved. All committee chairs shall submit their work plan and budget to Bernadette by October 10th, 2012. The next item was committee chairs. Roy Pearson was nominated as the chair of the Communications Committee. Gloria Stokes and Hattie Pierce were also nominated by Lillian Griffin to chair the Roads, Grounds, and Recreation Committee and the Planning and Zoning Committee, respectively. Zelia Diggs seconded. The motion is approved. Under new business, David Hawkins will be looking into starting a farmer's market in the Fort Lincoln area. Board members are to poll their housing clusters to see what speakers and topics that they may be interested in. Candidate forum for upcoming ANC election was approved. It will be held following the board meeting on October 18, 2012. And under the heading Home Tour and Date, the Home Tour Subcommittee is met and wishes to go forward. Bernadette White made a motion to table final approval of a home tour in 2013 and extension of the date. David Hawkins seconded, and the motion was approved. Next item, pool issue. Kaiser uses the pool at the Thurgood Marshall Elementary School. PTA is looking into getting the pool open to the community. Next, on the draft was something about redistricting. People see that? It says redistricting came up and was told to contact Councilmember Brown's office to get additional information. I don't remember that coming up. So I'm not including it in this reading of the minutes. Fort Lincoln Civic Association sent a letter to each of the Ward 5C Advisory Neighborhood Commissioners to oppose the 16-pump gas station that Constable is seeking the zoning exception for. Meeting adjourned at 8:55 p.m. With those amendments, that's the reading things.
Okay, you've heard the reading of the minutes. Is there any correction? If not, someone can motion that the minutes be approved.
Make a motion that these minutes be approved.
I second. It's been moved and second that the minutes will be approved as read. All in favor?
The changes.
The changes.
What's the change?
It's been moved and second that the minutes will be approved as read with corrections as necessary. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The next thing on the agenda is status report on the house tour. So the committee want to make a report. They want to go on with it.
The tentative date for the home tour will be April 2013. April 2013.
That's when the tour will be.
April 23rd.
Now, committee will continue to work that through.
Do we have to vote on that?
No.
Okay, so the committee on the house tour, we're going to attempt our first house tour to try to raise funds for the Civic Association. So some people have committed to show, to put their house out there for a tour. So we're still working on more. So that's good. So you heard that the first tour that we're going to attempt will be April the 23rd.
2013.
Okay, the next thing is vote on proposal of budget from September 2012 to September, to May 2013. Oh, you the budget.
I only got reports from 2 committees.
So,
I think that's incomplete.
The budget committee, the people that have that own committees, what they are doing, they're proposing their own budget and turning it into the budget committee. So the people didn't get it all done at this time. So it's gonna have to be delayed. Is there a date that we want, a date that we delayed to?
Well, we should have it at the next meeting. so that we can, complete this issue on the agenda.
Okay, so, the committees are not ready for their report, their budget report, so we're gonna delay it until maybe next month. Our next meeting will be, November the 15th. So now, new business and announcement. Anybody have any announcements?
The DC Federation luncheon is going to be Saturday, October 27th, 2012, at the Navy Yard. The cost of the luncheon is $50. We'll be giving out scholarships and awards. How many scholarships will we give? We gave 16 last year, didn't we?
I think it was 11
I
this
think
year.
last year we gave 16 scholarships. She said she think we're gonna have 11 this year.
So I have the tickets here, and I mean, it's for a good cause. It's for, to raise funds for the DC Public Schools students who's going away to college. And I know they come, I mean, the scholarship is based on the needs of the student. And some of them, you know, they get, I think the largest scholarship they gave out was like 4,000. And so it varies, you know, with the need of the student. And so this is a way of raising funds to do that. So, I mean, some years we have a lot of students that send their applications in, and some years we don't get that many. But they try to give out as many as they can. So I have the tickets here, and Fort Lincoln, we want to buy a table. We want to get a table. A table is like 10 people, and like, and $50 a ticket, so that's like $500. So I have the tickets, and I hope, you know. So if you can't buy a ticket, maybe you give a donation. We do give donations too from each civic association. And this is October the 27th. It's a Saturday, and it's from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Navy Yard. And the menu is usually pretty good. And we have entertainment, and we give out awards from each civic association that nominated people for awards. And the awards go from Civic Association, Outstanding Civic Association for the year, the Outstanding Member Association, and Mother and Father of the Year. And
Outstanding senior.
yeah, Outstanding Senior. And different people sponsor those awards, like Gas and Light and Verizon and Pepco. Yeah, they sponsor those. Some of them sponsor those awards.
It's a second announcement. Metropolitan Police Department 5th District Citizen Advisory Council Annual Awards Dinner, Washington Navy Yard Catering and Conference Center, 1454 Parsons Avenue, Southeast Washington, D.C. Thursday, October 25th, 2012, 6:30 p.m. until 9:30 p.m. Tickets $40 per person. And they have a contact Chairman Francis Penn, and they have her telephone number and her email address if anyone is interested.
Anybody in the audience have any announcements, comments, criticism? Oh, okay.
I would like to announce that on last week, I believe it was last Tuesday or Thursday, after having conversations with some of the condominium owners in Fort Lincoln about the increase in the assessment fees, and the condo fees seem to be not too distant future, outstripping the increases in their fixed incomes if they're retired. So I sent a letter to the mayor with copies to Councilmember Brown and everybody on that committee, the Economic Development and Housing Committee, and the Committee on Aging, proposing that a special program be created for seniors who are unsubsidized, whether they live in rental properties or in condominiums. And so it looks like it's moving to the committee for a hearing. And what Councilmember Brown said would be needed, it would be a citywide program. What would be needed is when he brings it for a hearing, that people who need it, people who have family members that might need it, that we need to pack the council chambers. And so we should know, he should know from the secretary of the city council, should have known today, but if not today, certainly tomorrow, what day that hearing is set for. And when I find out, I can let you all know so that you can put it on the website and let the people in Fort Lincoln know who express that interest for such assistance from the city.
That sounds like something that would be of interest in using on the senior citizens. Is there any more announcement, comment?
I've had, Ms. Griffin, I've just completed the course in A+, Network Plus, and Security Plus with completion at ASM. Our school just celebrated our 20th anniversary this year. We've seen over 16,000 plus students get good jobs in the IT field. ASM Educational Center up there in Rockville, Maryland, where DOE has sent a lot of their PC students to, trying to re-enter back into the workforce. The school has just celebrated its 20th anniversary, and we're still growing.
And your name, sir?
Just want to know your name.
Patrick Joseph Layman,
Layman.
Tayman.
If there isn't any more announcements or comments, we're going to move into our forum. Okay, we're going to adjourn our meeting and go into our forum for the candidates for the ANC commission. For 5CO3 and 5CO4. We are grateful to have a moderator for our forum that we attended for the first time. So I'm going to introduce him. Ladies and gentlemen, the next part of the evening will be a forum. The forum will provide an opportunity for the 4, maybe 3 candidates for the 2 advisory neighborhood commissioner, single-member district position in Fort Lincoln to introduce themselves to the Fort Lincoln community and to respond to questions. We are very pleased at We are very pleased that Mr. Richard Layman has agreed to act as the moderator for this first Fort Lincoln Candidate Forum. And I would like to introduce Mr. Layman at this time. First of all, Mr. Layman has been, Mr. Layman has been a Washingtonian for 25 years and has lived in Southeast, Northeast, and Northwest D.C. So he knows D.C. For many years, Mr. Layman has written columns that is published published on the internet about all aspects of the urban planning in the District of Columbia. Historical preservation, transportation issues, community development, commercial district revitalization, and civic engagement. You name it, Mr. Layman has written about it. In fact, his column on the internet has been named one of the 20 best websites on the urban planning. You can find it at urban places and spaces.blogspot.com. That's all in one word. But in addition to theory, Mr. Layman has been personally involved in efforts to involve neighborhoods in D.C. Back in the year of 2000, he served as a founding board member of the H Street Main Street program. And for a number of years, he was a paid and non-paid consultant for the Brooklyn Main Street program. Over time, his neighborhood advisory efforts led him to take up commercial district revitalization and transportation planning as a profession, including serving as bicycle and pedestrian planning for Baltimore County 2009 through 2010. Currently, he works for a startup bicycle facility system integration firm called Bicycle Pass. His firm focuses on bicycling as transportation and on providing high-quality parking and other services to make bicycles safe, practical, and efficient mobility choice. Mr. Layman has chosen a bicycle as his means of transportation to get around the city. You ride your bike tonight?
I rode my bike tonight.
Now we have provided Mr. Layman with a list. We have provided Mr. Layman with at least the outline of most of the questions he will be asking this evening. But we nonetheless appreciate his lending and outside perspective to final selection of the person he will be asking the candidate. So now, Mr. Layman, you're on.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege really to be here. The reason that I agreed to do this is because I can't claim for all 25 years I've been in the city I've tried to make it better, but I certainly have for the last 12 or so years. And when people ask me to do something like this because they're already involved and engaged in making their communities better, it's really hard to say no. And even though I've been in lots of parts of the city, I have to admit, even though I write about Fort Lincoln, this is as far deep as I've been in the 25 years that I've lived here. So I also appreciate being able to be introduced to another part of the city. Most everybody here knows about ANCs, and ANCs, or advisory neighborhood commissions, are really a neighborhood form of providing citizen input into issues before DC government. And ANCs and ANC commissioners can be great, or they can be words we don't use in polite company. But they're really important because they are a means, a conduit to express our concerns about our neighborhoods and our city in ways that are real. I mean, we might not, as citizens, have conversations very often with city council members or certainly the mayor, but people who are on the ANC or want to be on the ANC, they're our neighbors. And it's a much closer connection to government. So this first forum is great. I think there need to be more of these across the city. And it's unfortunate one of the people won't be here, but with this census, or the 2010 census, Fort Lincoln area now has enough population to have more than one ANC commissioner. And that's why there'll be 2 panels, which I'm gonna probably mess up. C3 and C4, 5C is the ANC, and actually its boundaries are changing somewhat because of the census, also in the redistricting. And so we have a representative or someone running for single member district 5C03, Ms. Leona Redmond. And unfortunately, but good for her, tonight her opponent, Robert King, isn't here, so she'll have a little more time to talk. And then on my right, we have Jacqueline Manning, the current ANC commissioner for 5C04, and an opponent, Carolyn Robinson. And we all wish you all the best, regardless of who wins, because we know that whether we win or lose, we're still going to contribute to our community. So the way this is going to work is the candidates have an opening statement of 3 minutes each, and then we have a bunch of questions. And I just wanted to throw out something here about sort of the, again, why I'm interested in Fort Lincoln. It's because it's don't take this the wrong way, it's kind of an odd place. You're on the edge of the city. It's designed a lot differently than a lot of the other parts of the city. And then it's beautiful and green, a little isolated, probably not a great place for biking. But at the same time, you have these great neighborhoods or potential neighborhoods, but they're disconnected from each other. So you have a big struggle on connecting across these different neighborhood clusters. And then even with the creation of the new representation, 5C04, that has to be spatially one of the biggest ANC single member districts in the city, covering huge area, which poses challenges for connecting too. So, and then, is probably everybody knows here, how I first came to the attention of the Civic Association here is I'm one of the only people who's written about the Fort Lincoln Land Disposition Agreement and how promises were made in developing this area that weren't kept. And many of the residents here are party to a lawsuit about that. But then also if this land development agreement said X and Y and Z should happen and it didn't, why is the city's political leadership, up to the mayor, council people, even current ANC representation, kind of complicit in saying that not following that land disposition agreement is okay? That it's okay to not meet your obligations, it's okay to mistreat the residents, the citizens of this greater neighborhood. So that's, again, that's the context for what we're doing. So we're going to go with C3 first. So Ms. Redmond, you have the opportunity to give an opening statement, and then I'm going to barrage you with some questions.
Should make clear that she gets 5 minutes.
And I'm sorry. Well, because you can talk a little longer than 3 minutes, but just to be fair to others. And we have people, if you want to submit questions, this box has stuff and they'll come up to me. And then if if I'm sufficiently unclear or bad or don't miss points, some of the board members might chime in to keep us on the straight and narrow. So, Ms. Redley?
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Leona Redley, and the land acquisition agreement is one of the reasons why I want to run for ANC, because even though I've been here for a short period of time, the incumbent and my opponent will tell you that since I've only lived here for 3 years, that I don't have a right to run for ANC, but I do. First of all, I'm an American citizen. Second of all, I'm a citizen of the District of Columbia for over 40 years. Third of all, I've used my time in the District of Columbia for many years combating problems that's often found in urban settings. I've lived in Fort Lincoln at the Wesley House for 3 years. And I love Fort Lincoln. I love Fort Lincoln, but I don't understand some things about it. I have a community development background. To tell you a little bit about me, if you don't mind, I'll read from this because I took excerpts from my background and experience and documented those experiences professionally and otherwise that I thought you would find interesting or that would qualify me to be your next commissioner and your first commissioner for ANC 5C03. I have been a member, or I was the member, of the District of Columbia Comprehensive Plan Committee. I chaired the Ward 8 Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee. I was the chairperson of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Camp Sims Task Force, which we were responsible for the ordnance removal and community evacuation plan. You may remember back in the mid-90s over at Camp Sims in Southeast, there were some bombs found over there that one afternoon some very energetic Marines went over and detonated them. A couple of them, and it shook the hospital. It really frightened everybody. So since I had a lot of experience in dealing with Camp Sims, I was asked to chair that committee by the Corps of Engineers. I have been a member of the Mayor's Advisory Committee on Resources and Budget, where I chaired the Economic Development and Regulation Subcommittee. I've been a member of the Mayor's Commission on Cooperative Economic Development. I've been a special assistant to a DC Council member, Carol Schwartz. I've been a member of the DC House and Finance Agency's Citizens Advisory Board. I am the founder, president, and chief executive officer of the Women's Community Development Corporation. I was a member of the Washington Metropolitan Area Council of Governments DC Representative Community Advisor. And I was a member of the Citywide Planning Coalition Transportation Subcommittee. I'm running because I've tried to participate in activities in this community that I know can make it better. I go back and forth to the Fort Lincoln project from the days before Ted Hagen got it. Ted used to sit at my table before he acquired this property, and I know what his dream was for the property. And I know that when he signed the land development agreement, what his intentions were. And it's, I never thought I'd live in Fort Lincoln, but I'm here, and I was surprised to find that the millions, probably billions of dollars that's been spent here, that there's been absolutely no community equity in any project in this community. It's unheard of. It's unheard of. In Southeast, the Anacostia Economic Development Corporation owns the building that the Department of Housing and Community Development is in. In Columbia Heights, the Development Corporation of Columbia Heights owns part of the shopping center that was put there. They own, as a part of the community equity, houses that they were able to sell back to people in the community at discount prices. Fort Lincoln has been left out, and something needs to happen. I'm happy about the appeal being won. Because there's still time to do something to get the community equity for this community that it lost. But the only way that that's going to happen is the leadership at the ANC has to change, because the leadership at the ANC has to want that to happen, number one, but more importantly, has to have the expertise to make it happen. I'm the person that has that expertise. I'm the person that has that interest. I'm the person that should be your first ANC commissioner for ANC 5C03 and your next commissioner at all. Thank you.
Thank you. That's an excellent lead-in into the first question. ANC commissioners are supposed to represent the citizens in the single-member district, not necessarily their own interests and agenda. What plans would you have as ANC commissioner to have regular meetings, regular SMD meetings in general, but then also your interaction that you would see with this civic association?
My plan is to have single-member district meetings monthly, but as issues might come up out of a citizens advisory panel in connection or in concert with the civic association, have ad hoc meetings when necessary. You know, it's my belief from my community organizing background and having participated in civic associations, that the civic association is the conduit for the community. That's my belief. My belief is that, and that's how I've acted, civic associations are supposed to bring to the advisory neighborhood commissioner, if you will, issues of matters of importance and concern, and then the commissioner, as the commissioner, I would support the civic association. I would support every entity within Fort Lincoln to become a member, become a part of the civic association. Because what's going on now is that I often hear my opponent say, at our building, the Wesley House, he says, there's division in this house, and a divided house will not stand. Divided houses will not stand, but somebody's going to benefit from the house being divided. And so, in a capsule, to me, the Civic Association is the conduit, and the Advisory Neighborhood Commissioner is the supporter of the Civic Association to use the power of the office to get the access and the resources that are needed so that the community can do and be the very best that it can for all people.
Thank you. I think it's fair to say then that both in your opening statement and your answer to this question, or your previous question, that you respect and accept the Civic Association position on the land development agreement, what you call community equity, as the guiding principle for your representation of this area. Okay, so that will allow us a little bit more time with some other questions. One of the problems with ANCs, and I'm not as up to date on the Ward 5 ANCs as I had been previously, since I used to live right next to it. Well, I worked in Ward 5 and lived in Ward 6. ANCs in Ward 5 traditionally have not, okay, this is a general statement. The law that created ANC says that ANC should have committees, and that residents who aren't elected to ANC should be allowed to serve on those committees, even to the point of serving as chairs of those committees without necessarily being elected commissioners. And this can be a great way to increase involvement in our community. My knowledge of ANCs in Ward 5 up to now is that they do not function that way. And what would be your position about changes in ANC 5C so that it's more open and transparent and better engages and involves residents in its activities, and also then communicating what's going on? For example, if there's a liquor license coming up, or a new, for example, there's a new housing development being built here in Fort Lincoln that a lot of people don't know about, to communicate that back. So it's kind of a broad.
Being proposed. I absolutely know that the maximum benefit to a community from an advice of a neighborhood commissioner, single member district operating within the ANC itself, and then within the neighborhood, and then within the ward, and then within the city, that people who live within a single member district should participate at every level within, you know, it's like the city's budget has different clusters, and that there should be, I used to be the troubleshooter at Advice for Neighborhood Commission 8D, which meant that I chaired a committee that dealt with emergencies. In single member district 8D 05, primarily, but 8D overall, but then for Ward 8 overall. You see what I'm saying? And so what for each budget cluster, I'm gonna say, like economic development and regulation covers Department of Housing and Community Development, DC Housing Finance Agency, the Housing Authority, the Department of Employment Services, that should be a committee that's headed by somebody from the community, and that does not necessarily mean that it has to be me as the commissioner. That it should probably be Ms. Stokes who has that, you know, experience, or someone with her experience, and that the president of the Civic Association, I would engage as a partner with equal status with the position.
Okay, thank you. One of the concerns with the current ANC leadership has been with regard to negotiations for what are sometimes called community benefits. For example, because of Dakota, the shopping center, it creates an opportunity for the developers there to provide some funding to support community endeavors of various sorts. And this association has expressed a concern that things that commissioner says the money ought to go to are for things that are already being funded. And so again, how would you propose helping the community and the ANC set consensus priorities in a process for dealing with matters like community benefits in an open, transparent, fair way?
Mr. Layman, this is it. This is it. The appeal that the Civic Association won October 4th, I mean, the opinion was rendered on October 4th that deals with the land development agreement. I would suggest to the Civic Association that there are two partners that were left out of the suit. And one would be the District of Columbia government, and the other would be the federal government. Because they have laws in place that say, if they're transferring land from the government to a private developer, a community development corporation, or a community economic development corporation, or a community development organization is supposed to have some equity in that. There's a percentage. There's a percentage of equity. I think the first thing that I would do, I intend to win this election, but if I don't, if God says that the Advisory Neighborhood Commission is not the vehicle that He wants to use me in to make it happen, then it is my intention to follow what I believe that the Lord sent me to do here for everybody that believes in God, and that is to help bring parity to Fort Lincoln, to bring parity to Fort Lincoln. And I say the proposed housing at Eastern Avenue on Bladensburg Road, that's not a done deal, because it belongs to the park. Part of it belongs to the Park Service. The other part belongs to Housing and Urban Development. And everybody wants to do all this building, but nobody's worried about how the traffic is going to move through. When I was on the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee, for those of you who do not know, there was a major office development complex.
We'll give you 30 more seconds on this.
Okay, planned for the area where the shopping center is. And what we wrote into the comprehensive plan and what became law, and the law has not been amended or changed, is that Eastern Avenue, in the curve of Eastern Avenue, there is a right of entry that's written into the law because it was anticipated, all of this traffic that was going to be coming to the community, and that's how you bring it around the community. The land that's being proposed for the 50 townhouses need to be used in that building of that or improvement of the traffic infrastructure to move the traffic around the community, not up Fort Lincoln Drive or Commodore Joshua Barney Drive, but to use that land there to widen the road so that Fort Lincoln Drive goes on around the curve and Eastern Avenue goes straight across the way that the law says that it's supposed to. And that's what I would work for.
Don't forget the bike lanes.
Yes.
That's a joke.
Yes.
That's a joke. That's
yes.
a joke.
Okay.
You don't have to bike.
Okay.
In my opening statement, I made the point about the kind of separated clusters, and the Civic Association has a very exciting plan to do a house tour across the clusters. What do you think about that, and how would you see participating in that as an ANC commissioner? ANC.
As an ANC commissioner, I would get together with the Civic Association and say, hey, what's up? What you want me to do? You know, what can I do? With the resources limited, though they may be, of the office that I have, what is it that I can do for you? I would reach out to the Deputy Mayor for Economic Development, Victor Hoskins, and ask him to become involved because Fort Lincoln, Newtown is a town, so let's promote it that way. I would reach out to the tourist industry and get them involved and ask them to, you know, become a part of, so that people who really don't know who Fort Lincoln is, as you didn't, you know, then this would be an opportunity to invite people into Fort Lincoln so that they can see who we are and how we live, and that we have very nice houses in Fort Lincoln too. I think what I would add to that though, Ms. Griffin, is that I would add a couple of the apartment buildings. I think I would do that. But that, if you didn't do that, then that wouldn't stop me from supporting whatever it is that you want to do. Ostensibly, this group represents the entire community. Eventually, it absolutely will.
Relatedly, there now Fort